let's shift gears a little bit more so into civic role. I mentioned earlier that you're now the chair, and you're chair of the North Carolina Energy Forum. You've also been involved in some local political races. Certainly, I called on you, got some advice, and thought through some challenges. As most campaigns do go through these ups and downs. How important has your civic role been in what you believe your success is today?
Oh, huge, critically important. I actually believe that the success I've had with Wharton Gladden is invariably linked to the work that I've done in the community. Mm-hmm. A lot of the relationships that I built that have helped me with Wharton Gladden were relationships I built while doing community work. So yeah, I mean, I think it's been critically important. Outside of just the relationship piece, though, I think in terms of confidence and self-esteem, which I think if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to start a company or you want to start multiple businesses or whatever your desire is, it takes an extreme amount of confidence in order to do that, and you have to have a lot of self-belief, and you have to believe in yourself and the ability to do certain things. I've personally found, and I can't speak for anyone else, but I've personally found the work that I've done in the community and watching some of the opportunities that we've created in the community and watching some of the things that we've been able to accomplish in the community, whether it's working on legislation like hydraulic fracturing here in North Carolina, or whether it's our cookout for the homeless that we do every summer. Mm-hmm. But being involved in those kind of things have helped me to boost my own self-esteem, mm-hmm. which ultimately boosts your own self-confidence.
Right.
And I feel like that's been critical in terms of me being successful in business.
But some would say, Algenon, that the time you spend on civic affairs actually takes away from your ability to grind it out in your business. I mean, so how much time do you think you spend on civic affairs?
Honestly, I've never measured it, mm-hmm. and I'm gonna tell you why. And I'm terrible. That's why I probably said I have a girlfriend and not a wife. So I'm terrible. I'm someone that I don't particularly measure how much time I spent on Wharton Gladden that day versus how much time I spent on community work versus how much time I spent doing personal stuff. I don't necessarily subscribe to this belief of balance, right? Because balance says that you can only spend X number of hours doing this per day and X number of hours doing that. Really what I've tried to do is I've subscribed to a belief of synergy. So I believe that even when I'm out doing the work in the community, it's actually helping me to build the business. Mm-hmm. Because the relationship that I'm building with the person who's also helping me and volunteering ultimately can help me with what I'm doing with Wharton Gladden. Or if it doesn't help me with what I'm doing at Wharton Gladden, it may help me in some other kind of way or other kind of project that I'm working on. So I know it sounds crazy. I just subscribe to a different kind of belief, and I actually believe that anything that I'm doing is helping me to be able to move forward. Even if I'm at Walmart and I run into somebody and I end up having a conversation with that person, there's something I can take away from that conversation that's going to help me in something else that I'm doing.
Yeah, and one thing that as early on when we met, and as our relationship has progressed over time, is one thing I've always been intrigued by is that you caught on very early this idea that building relationships was essential to long-term success. And most people in our country live week to week, paycheck to paycheck. And so sometimes it's very difficult to see the long-term view because you just got to get the lights on this week. Right. I just got to get the groceries this week. So to challenge somebody to go, okay, well, how about we start worrying about how the lights are going to come on in 3 months or 3 years? But you figured that out early on. Do you think that has helped you become more successful thinking the long term every day? Or do you think it's probably hindered you from getting a big deal today?
Yeah, I mean, it probably both ways. I think anyone out there who has a company that has been around for a very long time and obviously have sustained, I think you're going to find that that's a person who's thought long term. I mean, they're looking at the long term trends. I mean, they're thinking about they're really beginning with the end in mind, as I like to say. But yeah, I mean, there's been times when maybe I had an opportunity right in front of me And because I am thinking so long term that I end up talking myself out of a deal. So I
Right.
mean that does happen. And there's going to be people who hear this conversation that you and I have that maybe they're just now starting their business. They just started in the last month, and they are trying to figure out, how do I get some money in the bank
That's
this
right.
week? How do I pay the car payment this week, or how do I pay the mortgage payment this week? Algenon, I can't go out here and focus on shaking hands and kissing babies. I'm trying to get money in the bank, and I don't necessarily have a magic response to that either, because realistically, if you were to ask me how I did it, I mean, I could sit here and give you a lot of fluffy answers, but the realistic response is I don't even know. I mean, like back when I was in that period that person's also in right now, I mean, I just figured it out. I mean, and it was tough. I mean, there was a lot of times when I went to a networking event in the evening or on a Saturday or bright and early in the morning, and I didn't necessarily want to be there. I mean, there was something else that I really wanted to be doing, but I knew I had to do that if I wanted to grow the business and sustain and be around. So, I mean, there really isn't no one way to do it. It is very, very difficult to do, and that's the reason why you don't have a lot of people out here actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get the challenge there, and that is a culture of our country that's very difficult for most people to grasp and understand. I certainly see how that is going. So.